And I see we already have quite a few on. So I'm just going to dive in. I'm going to start the recording right now. And I know that, perfect. Yeah, no one's face is going to be visible on Zoom and Facebook. So we're good to go there. Okay. Welcome everyone to how to create a business that can survive without you and set you up to thrive. So something of a business that can operate without your presence and continue to thrive even without you being actively involved with it. So before we start diving into the topic and what we're going to be talking about tonight, I see some familiar names on here, but some of you that I don't know. So I just want to give a brief introduction to who I am and what our company does. And then this is going to be interactive. So I do want to make use of the chat and get a sense of who is watching tonight. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Krista Davis. I am the founder of Krista Davis Coaching, which is about to be renamed very, very soon. So stay tuned on that. But we are a leadership coaching firm, and we focus on coaching primarily women entrepreneurs as well as executives. And our focus and belief system is that in order to run a great business, in order to run a business that gives you the freedom to live the life you want, you have to approach it like a CEO. And we teach our clients, we give them the skills, the guidance they need to run their business like a CEO so that they can have the freedom to ultimately live the life that they want and run a business that allows them to make a positive impact, but also in a way that is authentic to who they are. So not feeling like they have to compromise any aspect of who they are to succeed on business, whatever that definition of success is. And tonight's topic was inspired by two things in particular. So first, a conversation that I've been having with a lot of my clients around why they went into business to begin with, or why they're going into business. So we work with clients who are just starting out in business, as well as those who have been a little bit more seasoned. And the conversation always comes to freedom. And I'm sure those of you watching, feel free to chirp in. If this is you, like yes to freedom, feel free to give a little shout out for that. And what I've come to realize though, when they say freedom, it's, yes, freedom of time, financial freedom, freedom of creative expression, but it goes even deeper than that. And I've found that it's those things, yes, those things apply with freedom, but it's also about freedom to honor one's values, put one's family first, perhaps, one's faith first in their life, something that's deeper and something that they perhaps didn't feel like they could really prioritize and honor in a more corporate setting. So that's a conversation that I've been having with a lot of my clients. And what sometimes though can end up happening is that we go into business for that freedom, or we want to go into business for that freedom. And one, we're either like, how do I really navigate this? How do I create this? Or sometimes we find ourselves, rather than having, we're going along on our business journey, and rather than having that sense of freedom and fulfillment we want, we find ourselves overwhelmed, burned out, and almost like we're employees all over again for our businesses. So that sounds familiar. Let me know in the chat. I see Victoria, Lisa, you got ladies on Facebook. So just know I'll be pausing because I'm managing the two chats. I will be pausing to check both the Facebook chat as well as the Zoom chat. So second inspiration for this workshop has been my own experience in growing this company the past 3 years. So some of you know I am 9 days out from my wedding, which I am so excited. Oh my gosh, yes, very excited about. But we're not gonna just talk about my wedding, don't worry. But what has been really great about this time is being in a place where my business has given me, and I'm not making this up, I mean, it has truly given me the freedom and flexibility to plan my wedding, enjoy my bridal showers, be able to take almost 3 weeks off for my honeymoon and wedding. And I've really been having that moment of like, yes, this is what it's about. And I want to preface this that it has not always been this way. So that is what our workshop is about, right? So I'm at this point in my business where it's like, yes, we're here. And there's still areas that I want to improve. There's still things that I'm doing differently to get more freedom. But that's why we're talking about this tonight. And I wanted to have an honest conversation about what this looks like, because sometimes we're sold, I think, on social media, this like, oh, like I work from the beach, la di da. And I'm not saying that's not possible for people. I'm not saying that's not possible, but sometimes we're sold, we see the end result without realizing that it is normal to have challenges on the way to that. And it is also normal in business. I mean, part of why you went into business, I'm sure, is to solve a problem. So every level of business has different problems. So I want to start off in being transparent and saying, like, yes, I'm was partially inspired for this workshop based on my own journey and being in this place to have this freedom, but this isn't something that just happens overnight or without any effort. So I also want to normalize, if anyone's experiencing challenges in this area or they're wondering, how do I accomplish this? That is normal and it's part of the process. So what we're going to be doing tonight is giving you a bit of a behind the scenes look of how we've grown our company in this way to get to this point, the challenges we've overcome, as well as the challenges we helped our clients overcome, and how to kind of apply those lessons learned and take them home to your own business. So whether you are just starting out or whether you're a more seasoned entrepreneur, taking these lessons, these strategies, these tips, and applying them in a way that works for you so that you can have the business that you went into business for, as well as that lifestyle that you want to live. So let's pause here. And I would love to hear from those of you who are on, before we start diving into the content here. When you hear how to build a business that can survive without you and thrive, what does this mean to you? And why is this important to you? Take a moment to reflect on that. And those of you catching the replay, I recommend journaling this out, just to take a moment to reflect on why this is important. And if you want to share in the chat, feel free to do so. And just know that I have some structured content that I'm teaching, but if you have questions or specific things you want us to cover tonight, feel free to pop it in the chat and we'll cover everything. Yes, I'm seeing Lisa. Holy cow, you must be so busy. You know, Lisa, it's still a lot, but it's manageable when you're able to create your own schedule. And Lisa's saying it means things are in place that don't require you to be a huge part of every aspect. Beautiful. You have staff that covers aspect of the business. Leadership. Yes, leadership's a huge component. And yes, not every aspect of the business needs you. And I'm curious, Lisa, if you want to elaborate, why is this important to you? And if anyone wants to pop in the chat here, if not, I'll keep this moving. But just taking a moment to reflect on why this is important to you and what this actually means for you to have this in your business. So we're going to talk about this tonight. I have 4 key themes to talk you through about creating a business that works for you, that is going to address the core challenges that we see and that get people stuck and unable to create that freedom that they desire. So we're going to talk a bit about the core challenges, as well as giving you different ways to think about your business and strategies to apply to create a business that works for you. And Lisa, you're already on touching on some of that. And it sounds like, yes, Lisa, you're working on growing DC Fempreneur, seeking leadership so you don't have to be so hands-on. Absolutely. I'm in that phase of my business as well, where I'm hiring different team members so I can be more in that CEO role. So let's get started here. The first area that is so important is staying focused on the big vision. Staying focused on the why. And I know, I feel like finding your why has become somewhat of a buzzword that it can almost like mean nothing, right? When we hear these same phrases over and over. But when thinking about the why, to use myself as an example, when I first went into business, I went into business for many of these reasons we were talking about earlier. Freedom. I wanted creative freedom. I wanted the freedom to be able to serve my clients without bureaucratic influence from inside an organization, which I felt could hinder my service delivery. I also wanted freedom to be able to honor my values and what was most important to me, all of those things. But going into business, and I see this with my clients as well, it can be very easy that we get out of that corporate role, we're starting our business, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, I made a big decision here. And this business is my livelihood, right? It's my new salary. And it can be easy to forget your why. And business can easily turn into all about hitting the numbers, the revenue, the profit, how many clients you're serving, growing as fast as possible. And this was something I 100% fell into. And my first year of business wasn't as fun as it should have been, right? I was in this place of my life where I finally had this freedom and it wasn't as fun. And this is something I continually have to check in for myself, and something that I see with our clients about remembering, okay, why are we getting into business to begin with? So if anyone wants to share as we're talking through these things, please feel free to enter this into the chat. But remembering, what is this all about? Of course, you want your business to generate revenue, support your livelihood, but what are those other reasons? What is that freedom that you want? And keeping that as your focal point, and recognizing, yes, performance and metrics have their place, but for some people, and this has been a theme of the week with my client sessions, is that a lot of times we don't need to grow. Sometimes we do want to grow our business fast. It depends on your situation, but sometimes we don't need to grow as fast as we think we should be. And thinking about how you personally define success and staying focused on this bigger why, this bigger vision, and making decisions from this place. Because when you start making decisions from a place of, I just want to grow as quickly as possible, revenue, performance, metrics, all about that, you're going to lose sight of those other things that are more important. And it can be very, very easy to start working all the time, freaking out about the numbers, how many clients are you getting, your metrics. And it can be very, very easy to fall into a place of burnout, misalignment, and overwhelm as a result. So a big piece of getting out of that. So if you're starting out, being really crystal clear on this, but if you're already in business and you're falling into these challenges, going back to, what is this business all about? What is that bigger vision? And realigning how you're making decisions from that place. And within this as well, remembering that there's no right way to run your business, and you're ultimately the one that decides what success is for you. And we briefly mentioned this earlier, but a lot of times we go into business, we're sick of that kind of corporate mentality, but sometimes we can find that we bring it with us into our businesses. And we're going to talk more about that in a second, especially as it relates to productivity. So really always stepping back, looking at that big picture, and making sure that all your systems, your processes, and most of all your decisions are setting your business, yourself and your business up to align with that. So just out of curiosity here, has there ever been a time, for those of you watching, that you've lost sight of that big vision? And what are typically the things that maybe cause you to lose sight of that? And I find that typically in my experience, what makes us lose sight of that is that hyper focus on success or trying to do things someone else's way. So take a moment just to reflect on that. So our next topic area is redefining productivity and value. So I alluded to this just now with how we are taking a corporate mentality and bringing that into our businesses. And I don't want to stereotype that all corporates the same way, but thinking about this, like working a 9 to 5 plus, I mean, who really works a 9 to 5 anymore, right? A 9 to 5 plus, that we need to work a certain number of hours a week to be productive, that we're exchanging our time for money. So if you don't feel like you have freedom that you want in your business, start looking at how are you defining productivity and outcomes. So first, productivity is not hours worked, right? Like we got to get over that, especially if you're running your own business and you're in a CEO role. Just because you're working like 40, 50, 60 hours, this does not mean that you're making meaningful progress. And this is where that bigger vision comes in, right? Like you have to be clear on, okay, what are my bigger vision, my bigger goals, and what are the things that are actually going to move the needle forward on that versus what's just nonsense busy work that's detracting from my energy and my focus. And as a CEO, you need space in your schedule. You absolutely need space, because if you don't have space to process, to think through things, you're not going to be strategic. If you're not strategic, you're going to end up making decisions that aren't intentional. Unintentional decisions lead to the results that you don't want. So redefining productivity and looking at what that actually is for you. And another way we fall into this trap is trading time for money. And this is obviously, I don't know if anyone has a product-based business. I think most of the women I work with have a service-based business, but stop trading your time for money and charging an hourly rate. Just that then it turns into a rat race, because then you're literally, if you're charging based on that, right? It's like hours worked. You can obviously raise your rates, but you're still making that exchange. So how to stop doing that? Charging based on your deliverables, the outcomes, the results that you're offering. And I'm switching this with my team. Honestly, the people that work for me, someone prefers an hourly rate, but my new copywriter, she's on a retainer. I don't like, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to produce something. And naturally, as you become more skilled at something, it's going to take you less time to produce a better outcome. So if you're still trading your time for money, stop and rethink of a better way there. So that's another little corporate habit that can trickle into our mindset. Looking at your revenue versus your profit as well. So like we were saying, sometimes we can get focused on these measures of success, like revenue, but revenue is one indicator in your business, but your profit is, I mean, how much are you spending to get that revenue? And I would say, how much are you spending in terms of money, but also as well as time to achieve your revenue margins. And I'm not going to say that that you should have a certain profit revenue margin in your business. That's not my job to determine. So thinking about it from one way, right? Not getting too focused on, oh, I want to make all this revenue. And then your profit isn't really what you want it to be, but also thinking about it from the other perspective. Sometimes people don't hire team members because, oh, it's another expense, but what is not hiring that team member, investing in that service or making that investment in your business going to cost you in the long term? And I'll just give a personal example. I mean, how am I taking these 3 weeks off in my business? I've invested more in my team than I expected this year. But for me personally, I'd rather make less in profit and have more time freedom in my life. And I also know, though, by investing more in my team now, we're going to be able to grow the business more successfully in the next couple of years. So thinking about your relationship to money, whether you're overemphasizing revenue, profit, not wanting to invest in things that are really going to give you more freedom and move your needle forward. So that's like a mindset shift as well in terms of redefining productivity and the value you're giving your clients regarding changing your time, trading your time for money. So we're quiet in the chat. So I think I'm just going to keep going, but I will give you a prompt to consider here. So a prompt that you can take home with you, or if you want to try it in the chat right now, is what's an old definition or model of productivity that is holding you back in your business? And what are you going to do to change this? So perhaps it's changing time for money, or perhaps it's, oh, I don't want to spend on this expense because you're seeing it as a cost rather than an investment. So thinking about what's an old message or an old story regarding productivity, investing that's holding you back in your business, and what's a new way that you can replace this and move forward. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the strategy component, about building a scalable business model. So sometimes we don't have freedom because our business model, isn't the right fit for us, not the right fit for our goals, and it's not scalable, meaning what we're doing, like it can turn into what, once we get to a certain point, it's almost like we're on a hamster wheel. So let me give you an example. So challenge that I've overcome is when I first went into business for myself, I wanted to coach. That's what I'm passionate about. And I laugh at this now, I thought how I was going to grow my business was by taking on 20 private clients and charging like a low rate for it too. Like that's how I thought I was going to grow my business. I remember this is years ago. I was like, okay, if I signed 20 clients at this price point, my coach was like, looked at me like I was crazy. And she was like, also, you're going to raise your rates, Krista. And so that's just an example. Sometimes we're thinking about business like a solopreneur rather than a CEO. And I also want to say this, there's nothing wrong when I say solopreneur versus CEO, there is nothing wrong with being the deliverer of your services. You can still run your business like a CEO and have more of a sole proprietorship. So I want to make that clear when I say that. But thinking like a solopreneur is an example of that. Like, how the hell are you going to create freedom if I'm servicing clients 20 hours a week and trying to build my business? So that's a big block to kind of check on yourself and think like, okay, is this scalable? And I'm also not saying one-to-one work isn't scalable, but thinking about this with your model. And there's a few ways, I want to give you just a few ways that you can do this and just think about this. So first thing is you got to know your zone of genius as based on who you are and as a CEO, and start thinking about, as you're growing your business, what are the tasks that are, sorry, my mom's calling me, home in New York right now. The joys of being home. So your zone of genius, and especially as a CEO, what are the things that you have to be doing that are in your zone of genius that are going to move the business forward? Then how can you delegate, automate, and eliminate the rest? You've probably heard me say this before. Delegate, automate, eliminate. And I just shared this actually on my Instagram story. So a great way to figure out tasks that you shouldn't be doing is figuring out your earned hourly rate. So let's say you earn 10K a month in revenue. So I'm going to do a little exercise with you. So let's say you earn 10K a month in revenue, right? And you work 40 hours a week. So 40 times, what's 40 times 4? 40 times 4, 160. So $10,000 divided by 160, your earned hourly rate is $62 an hour. You want to evaluate all the tasks that you're doing. Is that a $62 an hour rate? Like, is that worth $62 an hour? If it is, yes, keep doing it. If it's not, you want to figure out a way to eliminate, automate, or delegate. And this is where building your team comes into this. And even if you're someone that does want to, even if you do want to have a small business and be more of a solopreneur, thinking about your freedom, your time, and whether that's hiring an intern to start, a virtual assistant, or hiring someone to help you with the delivery of your services. So an example of this could be if you're a web designer, hiring a design assistant. Or if you're that same web designer, perhaps you're like, no, the need here is I need a virtual assistant to help me with my operations. So looking at your zone of genius, looking at where you're most impactful in your business and looking at the tasks that fall out of it and start thinking about what you can do with those. Because and I have these sometimes come to Jesus moments with myself. I just made a new, I'll share, since we're sharing transparently here, I just made a decision with investing in a copywriter that can do, that's able to cover more work than my previous copywriter. And it's because I was like, I am not in my CEO zone of genius because I'm wasting way too much time writing. And where I was a year ago in my business, it made sense for me to be doing the writing, right? My revenue wasn't as big. It was a different part of my business. But now me doing the writing and my business, it's costing us money. So I'm investing in more support in that area in order to free up that area for me to do other things and not have that time drain. So that's just an example to think about this. Now, also thinking about a scalable business model. Another way to scale your business is to raise your prices. And I know if I'm talking to you, if you're in my audience, you didn't go into business just to like you want to make money, but you're into business because you want to make some type of impact. And remembering that your business is your business and your charity is your charity. And you can still do good work in your business and not have to mix the two together. And I'm not saying, listen, you want to add on a CSR component or something like that. Absolutely feel free to do that, but keep it separate and look at your market. Who's the market that you want to be working with? And knowing that you set the prices in your business. So this could be a whole separate topic around some money mindset work. I know sometimes there's hesitancy around raising rates, but knowing that a way to scale your business is you can charge significantly more and work with fewer clients, especially if you're interested in doing more of a one-to-one model. So hiring people, niching more in your market. If you choose to do so, again, you don't have to do this, but this is a way to scale your business, charging more money for your time. Another way to scale your business, so two ways, is thinking about either a passive income model or a one-to-many approach. So if you are a consultant, a coach, thinking about how you can deliver your service to multiple people at once rather than one-to-one. So for a coach, it could be a group program, maybe a consultant, it's an online course. And then we're kind of moving into a passive income approach. So one of my clients is a web designer, and one way that we've set her up with passive income is that she created these customizable templates. So people can choose to work with her privately, which she raised those rates. She's charging a premium rate to be able to design that website one-to-one, or people can purchase these templates and have like a more do-it-yourself type of service. So what she's focusing on is marketing those and then bringing in she's hiring a virtual assistant to help with the marketing, and then eventually bringing on a design assistant that can help her with that one-to-one. So that way she has more freedom that way. So you see, that's an example of how you can use these different strategies together. So those are just a few strategies. Obviously, it depends on you and what you want to achieve, but the message here is thinking, is my business model scalable? Can it function right there? Can it function without me? When you want to go on vacation, can you have an assistant that's monitoring your emails for you? That something that people can purchase on your website passively. So these are all different ways that you can go about it, or as well as raising your prices, taking on less volume of clients. So there's less things in your calendar. And a question to think about here is, how do you want to adapt your business model to scale, to make it more scalable? What are the changes you want to make? So whether you're starting out thinking about what this looks like for you, or if you're in business, what are the changes that you need to make in order to create more freedom while still delivering top-notch service to your clients? Of course, we never want to neglect that. Okay, just checking the chats here on Facebook, just taking a pause. So our final area here where we can suffer as business owners is having strong business boundaries. Whew. Boundaries, we hear about this, boundaries. But where our freedom can go completely out the window is not having clear boundaries that we're enforcing in our business. And again, calling myself out as a challenge that I've overcome is when I first started out in business, like being willing to negotiate my prices and give discounts. Now that's something, and again, if that feels aligned for you, for me, that was coming from a place of not feeling good enough and not having strong boundaries and believing in my services, or being willing to maybe compromise on my time with clients, and also maybe not having strong boundaries with myself and working on the weekends. So what shifted for me, I find boundaries can be a bunch of different things. What shifted for me, and I find with my clients, is really owning your value and recognizing your role as a business owner. And for coaches who are watching, again, I know we're not speaking to all coaches, but remembering, like, you are not a savior. So people are making a choice if they want to invest with you, and it is a partnership. Your job is not to save them. And you also need to be careful about the responsibility you're taking for your clients' results and not overtaking that responsibility, because that can lead to a lot of boundary issues. And again, that's a topic for another time. But sticking to this with creating freedom, a great story was I was just at the hair salon last week. And so my hairstylist, if anyone needs a fabulous blonde hair color in Virginia, my girl is amazing. And she charges for it. I mean, it's the most amount of money I've ever spent on my hair, but I happily pay it because she's the only person that's ever done my hair correctly. So I'm in her chair, and another client, I guess her daughter goes and sees her. She's commenting to her about how she's so expensive, asking if she can make a discount, all of these things. And I'm in the chair. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great content. Because I'm watching how my hairstylist is handling it. And my hairstylist handled it like a boss. It's just like, no, like that, that's my price. I can talk to the owner, we can see, but that's my price point. And that's just an example there of holding your boundaries and recognizing in your business, what are your non-negotiables versus more flexible boundaries, right? Because not all your boundaries have to be super strict. So if you're thinking about having freedom in your business, more freedom, you don't want to be burnt out, you don't want to be overwhelmed, you want this business that supports your life, what do those boundaries look like for you? It might be something that's more internal, right? Like you're never gonna put working on the weekend above your family time. This could also look like in your business with your pricing. Perhaps you're non-negotiable with your price, but perhaps maybe you're flexible in your payment plans if someone needs a different payment plan to pay for your service. This also involves having very clear expectations with your clients and your colleagues. In your contract, like for me as a coach, it's this has adapted over the years, but right now it's email access, Voxer access, but I will only be responding Monday through Friday. So that's very clear and that's laid out. So getting clear on your boundaries and then communicating them with clear expectations to your clients and your colleagues up front. And knowing that you can be of service in your business as a leader without turning into a people pleaser, without being a doormat, and really separating the two. Because most of the time when, for those of us who are further along in business and we don't have the freedom we want, it's an internal thing. It's our perspective. And we're not doing things that we know we should be doing because of a boundary issue, because of a value issue that we have, or a mindset that we believe that we have to do things a certain way in order to be successful. So always checking yourself in these different areas. And taking a moment here, feel free if you want to pop it in the chat, but where do you need to set up stronger boundaries in your business? And being honest about it. So we just went through all this different content, and oh, thanks, Stephanie. You're not your client's savior. I'm glad that resonated. So we just went through a lot of content, and I want to take a moment to pull this all together. So I just threw a lot at you. How do we pull this together to create a business that can operate without you? And hopefully you're taking away from this is that it really depends on you as the business owner, your goals, and what that means for you. Perhaps you want a business that's set up so that you can take a week off every month. Yeah, maybe that. Or maybe you just want to be able to go on vacation when you want. You want to take a few vacations a year and just not have to worry about it. Maybe you want to work 3 days a week and have your business running without you. So getting clear on what that looks like, and that might shift through the years. Like, right now, my definition of having my business thrive without me is being able to take off 3 weeks for my wedding and not have things explode and still have things getting posted, right? But in the years in the future, when I hope to build a family, I'm sure that definition is going to be very, very different. So getting clear on what that is and what are the things that you need in place in order for your business to thrive without you. And you might not be able to get that thing this second. So maybe you do want a team member. Maybe you're like, oh, I don't have that in my budget yet. So it's thinking, okay, business, right? There's seasons in business. So there's going to be times where maybe you gotta hustle a little more, you're focused more on building, but then you know that there's going to be a season where you're stepping back. So maybe to invest in that team member, you're focusing a bit more on building, increasing your revenue to get that virtual assistant. Or maybe rather than having a virtual assistant 10 hours a week, it's 5 hours a week. So thinking about first what that actually looks like to have your business thrive without you, and then getting clear, what are the components I need? Maybe you're noticing, oh, I'm trading my time for money. I got to restructure my programs and my packages. Or maybe you're like me, where it's like, you think you're going to take on all these clients, but you're like, actually, this is not a good idea. So maybe it's raising your rates and taking on fewer clients. And that's how your business is going to thrive without you. Or perhaps it's setting stronger boundaries. You got clients contacting you all the time, or setting stronger boundaries with yourself. So it really depends on who you are, your goals, and how you want to apply this material. So I just want to open it up. Questions, comments, feel free to type in the chat and I will cover them. And I know someone who was watching the replay, she asked me just to address this. She asked me, what's the difference how to apply these strategies if you're new in business, or like you're just starting versus you're in business a little bit further. And my answer to that question would be, right, like there's some of these things you might, if you're just starting out in business, you're probably like, I don't need a team member right now, right? So it's really having this information down the line and knowing when you can implement it. But I'm sure if you're just starting out in business, maybe you are trading your time for money, you can start making those changes now. Versus if you're more seasoned in business, your business has been going on, you can kind of diagnose where those challenges are that are not leading to the freedom you want and start making those changes. So I did want to answer that question. Checking the Facebook group. Okay. So looks like we don't have any questions. So I never like to waste time. So we can wrap this up. If anyone has any follow-up questions, please feel free. You can send me an email. Those of you who are watching on Zoom, we do have a Facebook group. If you want to hop in there and join, let me know and I can send you the info. But that is what I have for you ladies today. And keep me posted. I look forward to hearing. Oh, I do have a question. Oh, Stephanie, how do you think about pricing from a value/outcome/deliverable perspective when your services might feel more intangible? That's a tough thing. So, and I know what your business is. I would think about for your business, how does that service, what you're doing, then impact their greater business, their organization, their life? Because Stephanie, what you're doing in your business, it's not just like, oh, like it's a nice to have. I mean, that's going to drive engagement with donors, with customers, with clients, and impact that bottom line. So I would think of it in the ecosystem of things as well, like the greater ecosystem. And also thinking about, so that's kind of the results, but then also thinking about the deliverables. So I was just talking to my virtual assistant this week about switching her to a deliverable, a different payment model. I was like, listen, we can't be paying you hourly. This goes against our company values. And she thought I was going to pay her based on like her uploading content, like how well the content performed. And I was like, no, I was like, first of all, you're not writing it. And I said, second of all, like, your deliverables, like you're going to be delivering each week, you're going to be posting 4 things of content. So that's also, there's a value in that as well. So thinking about deliverables as well as the overall impact of what you're doing. And I'm also going to say this, I mean, you can just pick a number that feels right for you. Think of it like this. I mean, like people spend money on really expensive designer bags, right? I mean, what's that value that it's really giving them, right? Like you decide who you want to be in your market and who your market is. And you can charge what you want to charge, and you can charge what you want to charge. And then people on the other end, they can say, yes, that sounds good, or no, that doesn't. Because I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but sometimes I think people feel like, oh, well, what if it's not affordable? People don't have to buy your service. Like they have a choice. So remembering that, considering it from a value perspective, but also remembering that it's your business. If you like $3,000 for your package, you just think, yeah, like that sounds good to me. That's what I want to price it at that. And that's your business. And the right clients for you, what ends up happening is typically when you're confident in that, you do find people that get that. And if people don't want to spend that, they can go and they could work with someone else, and that's okay. So let me know, Stephanie, I hope that answered your question. Awesome. Okay. So now I know I was wrapping up and then I answered that last question. So good night, everyone. Again, feel free to share any follow-up questions. I look forward to connecting with all of you soon.